You don't have to be a resident to be able to buy a property in Mexico.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mariana. Mariana, how about you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Mariana Rodriguez. I am the founder and the main attorney of Maxlife Yucatan. Here we have our base in Mérida, Yucatan, and also we work between here and Cozumel. We've been doing immigration and real estate law for about 5 years. If you have a property here in Mexico, that goes up a certain value. So that's a way that also people get residency. But when they go with their title, they're like, oh no, where's your solvency? And that's not needed. But because they say, oh, really? I need my solvency. They don't have that legal advice. They don't have that advice from someone to help them and say, no, fight it because that is in the law that you can get it. So yeah, like many times they tell you things like that, but turns out, no, it's not like that.
Wow, that is such, thank you so much for bringing that up. And that's why your company is so valuable because, I mean, you know this stuff. You know when to fight something, you know what's actually in the law, what's just them kind of like maybe being picky about something. That's
Yeah.
really, really valuable. I had no idea that if you bought a property and it appreciated a certain amount, you can become a resident like that. Yeah. Very cool.
Residency qualification based on the value of your house in Mexico for 2023. You can apply for temporary residency if you own a residential property in Mexico, not abroad, with a market value of at least 40,000 times minimum daily wage, MDW, or UMA.
In your experience, should you be waiting to become permanent, completely permanent, before buying a property in Mexico? I know we just said that you can buy a property to become permanent, but if you're not in that position, if you're a temporary resident, should you be concerned about buying a property before you actually jump into permanent?
I would say it's better before.
Okay.
But regardless, it's important to note, either if you are permanent or temporary, the same rules apply, or tourist.
Okay.
Same rules apply. The only way that it changes, and I will explain how this changes, is if you're a Mexican.
Okay.
That is the only way. So I would say because especially here in Yucatan, I don't know other states, but I do know everything's going up, of course. In a few years, it's going to be impossible for someone to buy a property here. So
Okay.
I would say, want to wait until it's impossible or want to get it now? And of course, the value will go up. It's good for investment opportunities. And again, like I said, you don't need to be a resident to be able to buy. Some lawyers that don't know about immigration will tell you, oh, yes, where's your residency? You don't need it. You don't need it. You just have to be legal in the country. Of course, when you sell the property later, it's better if you are a resident. It's better if you have that and your tax ID number because you might be able to exempt the scary sales tax, capital gain tax. So there are benefits.
A lot of people, when they think about Mexico, they think of beaches and vacation, but Mexico is not some third world country where, everything is depreciating, everything is cheap, and you could just come here. No, like this place, the financial solvency is going up every single year. The property values, no matter where you're talking about, they're going up all the time. Like you
Yeah.
better, if you want to come here, like you said, do everything now. Get your residency now. Whether it's temporary or permanent, whatever, get it now while you still maybe can. Buy a property now before it appreciates through the roof. I mean, this is gonna
Yeah.
be like in America at some point. And that's what happens in the United States. Now people can't touch homes.
Exactly. Just to give you an idea, about 11 years ago, my family bought a piece of land. I'll tell meters because I don't know, but a 20 by 50 right near the main city. And it was only $1,500 at the time. So
Wow.
maybe like 30,000 pesos for that piece of land. Right now, that piece of land will not go less than 1,000,000 pesos, which is about 500,000. Yeah, $500,000. So, I mean, at least here it's growing so much. The safeness of the city is attracting a lot of people. So it is a great investment, but if you want to do it, it's better to do it now than in a few years, I would say.
Yeah.
Is this in Merida? I'm sorry.
Yes, this was in Merida.
Okay.
In Merida. But it's
Wow.
very general in the South, at least. Like I said, I don't know other states that much, but at least in the South, this is a common thing that's going on.
Wow.
That's good to know.
Very good to know.
Yeah.
Now, what are the two main differences between being a permanent and being a Mexican? With the citizenship, you can buy a property directly without doing it through a trust or a company on restricted zone.
You said, like, if someone wants to buy a house by the beach, right? The ocean, you have to go through the bank or
Trust.
something. Trust.
So to be able to understand why someone needs a trust or a company to buy in Mexico, and just to for purpose of being simple, we will just talk about the trust, which is one of the main ways that a foreigner buys a property in restricted zone in Mexico for using it as a house, right? So pretty much there in our constitution, Mexican constitution, there's an article which states that no foreigner or foreigner company can directly own a piece of land that is either 50 kilometers in the breach of 50 kilometers away from the ocean or 100 kilometers from any border. Now, if you take a look at a map of Mexico, this is a lot because we're surrounded by ocean and we have a lot of borders. So it's like 90% possibility that you might find yourself in the situation where you have to buy in restricted zone. So what happens? There is something called a trust, or fideicomiso in Spanish. And pretty much what it is that you get the services of a bank. This could be Monex is very famous here for doing that, or Scotiabank, any bank that works as a fiduciary. And what they do is that you buy the property, but you will become a main beneficiary of the property. Meaning in the title, it will be the bank's, but the bank cannot decide anything on the property. It only protects it from you. So for example, this constitution thing was made in a time where people would come into the country through ocean to be able to take control, right? So you have to think about that when you're talking about the trust. Now, clients ask me, so what happens? I mean, I'm not the owner, then they can take away my property. No, it doesn't work like that. If the bank went bankrupt or whatever, you can just change fiduciary to maybe a bigger bank. So we always try to find big banks that have a lot of history here or a lot of history as fiduciary to be able to not go through those hassles. But practically speaking, what happens is you will set up, or the seller will set up a trust. You will become the main beneficiary. And in the title, specifically, it says that the seller has no right in this trust. They were paid, they're gone. And the bank respects you as the main beneficiary. So you can rent it, you can use it, you can sell it whenever you want. One of the main things that is your obligation is to use it in a proper way. So pretty much use it for personal use or for Airbnb, for housing purposes, and also to pay yearly fees to them for having that trust. Those for years have not changed. They're about $450 plus a tax with exchange rate. Okay, so those are paid yearly to keep your trust. And that way is how a foreigner can buy under restricted zone.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's not something really that anybody should be worried or concerned about having, other than if you can't pay that maybe 500 or whatever the case might be dollars a year.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it does involve a few more expenses than just being a Mexican and buying, but it also has its benefits. For example, the trust in itself becomes a will. So in it, you can already put the person who will be the next to inherit in case of death. So it has benefits. And like you said, you should not worry about it. It's something completely legal, nothing to worry really about more than having the money to pay that yearly.
And so if it was passed down, the person who received it, they would continue paying for that trust.
Exactly. So there would have to be a change, it's expense with the notary to be able to change the title, but you can absorb someone else's trust if they are foreigners. Or if the person who inherits is a Mexican, they can just take down the trust and keep it as a Mexican.
Very cool. So just like Brittany and I, there's a lot of foreigners who want to come here and purchase property. So what might your company be able to do to help that process move forward smoothly?
Course. So pretty much our job here is to take a client by the hand from literally seeing the house all the way until receiving their new title and even doing the changes later on to have everything under their name in regards to utility bills. So what I do always explain to my clients, and I had mentioned this before a little bit, is that we're not real estate agents. I'm a real estate lawyer. So I make sure that legally the property is okay, setting up the trust, everything else. But we do have a business partner, which is a big company here in Merida, and they take you by the hand and show you properties that are according to your needs, not only money wise, but also what you would like in a property. So once you have the house that you would like, we take you from the beginning, doing a title search to be able to make sure that the property is clean, or that if it has any problems, that we can make sure to write it down, that it has to be fixed, and to give you advice over it. This is a super important step because without this one, you could have problems in the future legally. So this will make the process smoother. After we do the title search, there might be an offer involved in which we have to give maybe a down payment for the property, then a promissory of sale, which is a document before a notary, where both parties promise to sell and buy, which also gives you more of a legal protection while we build the trust, and then doing the final trust. So we include in our bid always communication with the bank, with the real estate agent, if there's one, with the seller, with the notary. We're not married to any bank or any notary. We're married to our client pretty much. So we represent them in their needs and we protect them. So that is what we can do to help. Many times my clients come up to me and say, you know what, I already had a little title search and I already had an offer, and we take it from where they are. We revise the case, and if we can, we try to protect them as much as we can from where they are. But of course, it would be preferable to start before, right? So we could see all the case, but we can help you no matter what area you are now of the process. And also after, like I mentioned, we can change utility bills under your name. We can revise your existing trust to make sure that everything is okay. If you want to sell it, we can help you sell it. And we also help you with your yearly payments for the bank so that it's a little bit easier for you to have that.
That's a lot easier. That's incredible.
That's really important to have someone like you because we've heard where like sometimes people think that they're buying a house or property, but they don't really own it.
Right.
Like,
And like you mentioned, it's preferable, like no one wants to spend money, but if you're going to be buying a house, I mean, come on, spend a couple thousand more. What I don't know how much it costs, but spend the money. I think one of the worst things someone could do is come to you and say, "Oh, I've already had the title search. I've already had this done." Yeah, but by who? Because
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
you'll lose all your money. You'll lose everything.
And it happens sometimes. And I just had a client the other day. I loved what he said. He's from Los Angeles. And he said, you know what? I do this in LA. And what I want you to know is I I'm looking for you because I don't want to be going into problems. I want to do it right. I know it's different laws, different ways of doing it, different language. And I put myself in the situation of being somewhere else and I would feel totally lost. And what has happened, and we've seen personally, sometimes clients come to us and maybe they never told them about the trust.
Right.
So now they're not able to title because they don't know that. So it's not the agent's job. They should, but it's not the agent's job. Speaking clearly, it's your job to make sure that you're complying. So we can help you make sure that you comply without having the stress of, is this right or not, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You said that you work in Quintana Roo and
Yes.
the Yucatan area, right?
Yes, exactly.
Do you have a network of individuals where, for example, if people weren't in your area, but they wanted to go to Mexico, do you have a network around Mexico of people that you would recommend to others?
So in regards to other lawyers, I don't have a network per se right now. And the reason is because I think that it's good that you connect with your lawyer and you know a little bit more about how they're doing in their own state. And I
Mhm.
think that you can do this by, checking YouTube, seeing other expat groups, making sure to see how people have liked it or not. We stay here with Yucatan and Quintana Roo because, like I mentioned, immigration changes from state to state in little things. So we want to make sure that we're up to date with that. So normally we don't offer those services in other states, but only where we are to make sure that we're giving 100% to our client.
Right.
Now, in regards to business partners, so for example, the real estate agent I mentioned, the insurance, the accountant, those can be used in any part of Mexico. And even they can help you from afar. So yeah, so we would be able to, we are working on creating a bigger network. But at the moment, this is what we can offer our clients to make sure that they are represented the whole way.
You guys offer such an incredible service. Like, if we knew about services like this, it would have been very beneficial for us to get, because then you don't have the worries, you don't have all the red tape. You're dealing with everything, all the headache. It's just you pay and now you represent. And it's just that's so much off your plate. You can deal with other things.
Exactly. We always say we want to make your life easier because moving is such a great and big project, right?
Right.
So if we can help you with a little part of it, then you can focus on what's more important.
Cool. I heard that in Mexico, there's no inspections of the home. Now, I know you said that you can help with, because you're a lawyer, the title, all the paperwork to make sure it's legal and you won't have your property taken from you later. But is there any people that you work with as far as inspections when you're going to buy a house? Is everything proper with the physicality portion of the house?
Yeah. So normally this is something that the real estate agent should be able to supply.
Okay.
We are right now trying to work on a bigger network, and this is something, like you said, that is specifically not done here. So
Right.
there's not really like a big service that says I will do an inspection of the physical part, more the legal part, or maybe, yeah, the offices part, the government offices. But it is something that we are working on. But normally the agents, the real estate agency that we work with, has people that can do an inspection, make sure that everything is okay. And I do tell my clients that it's always good to make at least 3 inspections, and we can write this down. One, of course, before you sign an offer to see the house,
Right.
another one in the middle of it to make sure that everything is okay, and one the day before the signing, like in the morning, so that also we make sure that everything is in its right place, no one is there, and everything is working okay. Because, of course, those things can be deducted from the final price, right? So we want to make sure that from the offer to the final signing, it could be 2 months. Many
Right.
things happen in 2 months, right? So we want to make sure that at least physically someone is revising it. But yeah, but it is a good thing to for us to be looking for, right? Because we know that things are different from back home for a lot of people to hear. So if we can make your experience better, then we are always open to suggestions and things that you guys are looking for so that we can make it a lot easier for everyone.
That's great.
I want to say thank you, and I hope that we can do this again as well. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact us. We have a webpage, maxlifeyucatan.com.mx, and we also have our email. Pretty much we work from Monday to Friday. If you have any question, feel free to text us through WhatsApp or send us an email, and we would love to help you out. And if you also want to follow us on Instagram, the name is Maxlife Yucatan, and also on Facebook.
Mariana, thank you so much for all of your time, all of your expertise and your experience. And as Mariana mentioned, we'll be putting every single link that she has, all of her information in the description of this video in case you wanted to reach out and make your life easier when moving here, purchasing a home here, or whatever you might need a lawyer for. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Take care.